And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at an Essen release title. And that title is going to be Terra Mystica. Now, this game has a ton of stuff in the box. It's really heavy, and it is going to be a game for 2 to 5 players in which you are trying to alter the layout of the world around you in order to build buildings and score points by doing so. Now, the trick is not to give too many points to your opponents in the process, but to build close enough to them and give them enough benefit so that it also benefits you. So real quick, we'll take a look at what's inside this box and all of the various different things that the game encompasses, and then we'll come back here and we'll get my final opinions on it. So here you can see Terra Mystica laid out for 2 players. Now I've only laid it out for 2 players because there's a lot going on here. I have to cover it very fast, and having more players out on the board would just get very confusing. Each player has their own individual player board with a lot of stuff on it. First, you can see their income. At the income, or their starting income, this player gets 3 cubes, 15 money, and advances 2 on this track here, these silver tracks. So they'll be moved up here. And yellow would have their own income that I'm not going to cover right now, but they would be moved up 2 spots on one of these tracks and would have their own starting resources. In addition, you can see they have several tracks on their board. They have a track here that's going to be their conversion rate for cubes, these cubes here, into spades, which will allow them to terraform or transform terrain out on the board. They're also going to have a track for shipping, which will allow them to go over water areas when counting adjacency. They're going to have these bowls of power here, which start with these little discs in them, and power is going to be one of the resources you use in the game, in addition to cubes and in addition to money. So there's a lot of resources in this game. Finally, they're going to have this area down here, which is all of their buildings that they can build, and they'll start with 2 buildings out on the main board, which will give you your income. The different buildings you have built on the board will give you more income, which will allow you to do more stuff throughout the game. I guess more than finally, the last thing you have is this special ability down here, which for green says, anytime you complete a city, which gives you a bonus to start with, you're going to get 5 extra victory points. Now, the game is played over a series of phases, and those phases are built into 6 different rounds, and after 6 rounds, the game will end. Each round has a special benefit that you'll be doing, so in the first round, founding a city gets you bonus points. In the second round, playing these buildings will get you bonus points. In the third round, playing any of your big buildings will get you bonus points, and so forth and so on. And that's going to change throughout the game. Now, at the beginning of each turn or each round, you're going to have an income phase, and your income is going to be based on what buildings you have out. You'll look at your board for any of these symbols that have a hand on them. You'll see there's a hand here, and there's 3 hands with 1 cube under each one. That means that during my income, I will get 3 cubes to add to my supply. After this, we're going to go into the action rounds, and each player will take actions until they decide to pass. Now, at the start of the game, each player is going to have a bonus tile that will give them something bonus at the beginning of the game, and you'll get to switch these out at the end of each round. But this one, for example, gives you 3 power as income. This one will give you a free spade each turn and 2 money as income. This one is 3 power and a cube as income. This one gives you a priest as income, which is yet another form of currency in the game. So you'll choose one of these at the beginning of the game, and you'll also choose one at the end of each round. After you've chosen those and after you've got everything set up, you're going to go into the action rounds. And actions are many and varied in Terra Mystica. The main action is going to be transforming terrain and building. And in order to transform terrain, or in order to build, you're going to have to build on your home terrain, which for green is forests and for yellow is deserts. So if green wanted to build a new building, they would have to transform one of these terrains into their home terrain. And that's all based on this circle out on the board here. You'll see that the closest terrains to green are this bluish and this gray here. And they require 1 spade in order to convert to green. So maybe green wants to build on this spot here. They would need 1 spade. And their conversion rate currently is 3 cubes for 1 spade. They could trade in 3 cubes. They have a spade now. And that spade allows them to convert this spot right here into green. When they do this, they may build a building on it, and they can only build the base buildings to start with. That costs them 1 cube and 2 money, so they could turn in a cube and 2 money, and they could build a building there. And they'd take their building and they'd build it. Now, for building adjacent to an opponent, that opponent gains power. And power is something that will let you take extra actions. They can gain 1 power because this is a level 1 building. If they had a level 1 building here and a level 1 building here, they would gain 2 power. But when you gain power, you sacrifice victory points. For each power you gain, you lose n-1 victory points. So gaining 1 power loses you 0, but gaining 2 power would lose you a victory point if you chose to gain it. When you gain power, you're going to move power discs from the lowest bowl you have, this would be 1, to the next higher bowl. So if I gained 1 power, I'd move 1 from here to here, until all of these had been moved up. If all of these are moved up, I would start moving power from here to here, each time I gain power. And when power are here, they're active to be used. So once they get there, you can use them for actions. So you can see as you build buildings, your income will go up. These will give you more cubes. The next thing you can do is advance on the shipping track. That's called the action number 2. And that's going to cost you a priest, which are these things which you don't have a way to gain yet, and 4 money. And that will allow you to go up on this track, earning you victory points and giving you a shipping of 1. Now, shipping of 1 means that for building things, which you usually have to build adjacent to where you already are, you can build across the water. So if I were here and I wanted to build over to here and I had a shipping of 1, this would be considered adjacent to me for building. You can get that up to 3, and it will give you more victory points as you go throughout the game. In addition to that, if you were to take an action, you could lower your conversion rate from cubes to spades, but that costs you 2 cubes, 5 money, and 1 of these priests. And you would move up on here, and now you only have to pay 2 cubes for a spade. If you got higher, it would be 1 cube for a spade, and that gives you points as you do so. The next action is going to be upgrading a structure. So you build all of your structures as these basic ones, but you can upgrade them. The initial upgrade is from this structure to this little bit larger structure here. And you'll see it costs 2 cubes and either 3 or 6 money. It costs you 3 money if you're upgrading a structure that's adjacent to an opponent, but that opponent will also get the power benefit for you upgrading next to them. If you're not adjacent to an opponent, it's going to cost you 6 money, but no one gets any benefit. And when you upgrade, you would pay the required resources to the supply, so 2 cubes and 3 money for that one. I would replace the old building back on my board and put the new building out on that spot, with yellow being able to gain their 1 power for me building a new building. But you'll see this gives me a power income each turn and 2 money income each turn, in replacement for the cube that I would normally get. Later on, these buildings can be upgraded either into this large structure here, which when you unlock it will give you a power benefit, and each round you can use an action in order to place one of your small houses onto any green spot on the board, once per round. These can also be upgraded into these little circular pieces here, and these will give you the income of these priests each turn. They're called sanctuaries or something like that. They're churches essentially, but they cost 2 and 5 to upgrade from here. And finally, when you upgrade to these, you'll get one of these bonus tiles over here, which give you various things. These ones here increase you on those cult tracks over here on the side of the board, which can earn you power and victory points at the end of the game. Some of them will earn you income, some of them will earn you actions, and some of them will earn you victory points each time you place certain buildings out onto the board. The uses of those are many and varied. Once you have these out on the board, you can upgrade to this large structure here, which will also earn you an income of one of these priests, but in addition gets you one of these tiles and decreases the number of tiles you have to have next to each other in order to build a city. Not only can these priests be used for actions increasing shipping or increasing your conversion rate, but you can also use them once you've earned them to send them over to this cult track here. And you'll see on this track there are several spots, 3, 2, 2, 2, where you can place these and advance your marker by that many spots. Once you pass certain spots, you will earn power income, and if you're the highest on these, you'll get a lot of victory points at the end of the game for being the highest on individual tracks. You can also, once you've got enough power into these bowls over here, let's say you've got some power over here, you can use these to take what are called power actions, which are printed on the board. You can use 3 power to get 1 bridge, and once that's done, that action gets covered. These bridges are used to cover areas, making them directly adjacent, which is important for scoring at the end of the round. So now these two are directly adjacent to each other if you build a bridge there. The next action here, you can pay 3 power to get one of these priests, so that's another way to get one of those. You can pay 4 to get 2 cubes, 4 to get 7 money, 4 to get a spade, or 6 to get 2 spades, which will allow you to convert terrain over. You can also use power to get different things. You can pay 5 power to get a priest, and you just move that over at any time. You can pay 3 to get a cube, or 1 to get 1 money. In addition, you can actually remove power from the game to advance your power to the next area. So if you get rid of 2 power here, you can automatically move 2 power over in case you're in dire need of power to complete an action. You can always also use special actions that you have. So for example, this player here, once they've built this structure, could use their action on their turn in order to put one of their little houses out, but only once per round. The last possible action you can take on your turn is to pass. So you're going to go around taking 1 action at a time, and eventually you're going to want to pass because you're not going to have resources left to do anything else. And when you do pass, you're going to choose one of these new, basically, talismans, or the new things that are available for your next turn. They'll adjust your income or your abilities. You'll turn yours back in, which you cannot take again for that round, but then you'll take one of these. Any of them that aren't taken at the end of the turn will get money placed on them, and so it'll be more valuable the next round for people that want to take them. Also, at the end of the round, you're going to score these little sheets. So you'll see in each round there's one of these things, and it gives you benefits. So during this turn, if you had farmed a city, you'd get 5 points. Cities are simply areas on the board that are at least 4 hexes in size that you own and have at least 7 points worth of buildings, with the small buildings being worth 1 point, the mediums being worth 2, and the largest being worth 3. And when you found a city, you'll get one of these little tokens. They give you points and some more income or some various things that you can use throughout the game. But at the end of a round, you'll score these, and you'll see on the right-hand side of them, they have an indicator as to what you can get. So if you have at least 4 points on the brown cult track, you will get a spade, which you will immediately use to terraform some of the land here. In the next round, if you had 4 in blue, you would get an income of a priest. In the next round, if you had 2 or any multiples of 2, you would get 1 cube per 2 that you had. But anyway, you'll resolve this, and then you'll flip it over, and you'll move on to the next round, getting your new income, and basically starting with a new round of actions. Whoever passed first will be the first player. You're going to keep on going on in this manner until you go through all 6 rounds. And at the end of the game, you're going to score points. Now, you're going to score points for 2 additional things based on what you've already done. So you'll score points during the game for various things, upgrading your spades or upgrading your shipping, for this player for building cities, or if you've built a city, a lot of those are worth victory points if you've taken any of these special things. But at the end of the game, you're going to score more points. And those are going to be based on adjacency 1. Whoever has the largest group of directly adjacent buildings. Directly adjacent does not count over water unless you have a bridge connecting the spots. Whoever has the largest group of directly adjacent buildings will get 18 points, and second place will get 12, third will get 6. Whoever is at the top of each of these tracks is going to get points. First person is going to get 8, whoever's second will get 4, and third will get 2. And only one person can ever reach the top of any track, and in order to do so, you have to have founded one of these cities by having an area of 4 with 7 points of buildings, or if you finish this building here, an area of 3 with 7 points of buildings. Whoever has scored the most points by most effectively building their buildings, getting the best income, utilizing the power actions, creating a group of buildings, and scoring on these cult tracks will be the winner. Well, there you have it. That is Terra Mystica. As you can tell, a relatively complicated game in which you're trying to manage resources of priests and money and cubes and power and how many pieces of each type you have on the board, so you can get income of each of those in order to place things out on future turns and just manage your actions and everything. And all at the same time, you're competing with other players on the board for these actions as well. Now, it doesn't play as well with 2 because you don't have all of that interaction going on. You can kind of build off on your own. But when you get up to 4 and 5 players, it gets really crazy trying to compete for the different power actions or trying to compete for spaces on the board before other people can get there. And you can even kind of get locked into a corner unless you start upgrading your shipping and building bridges to move across the water to different areas. I didn't show you that there are some insane amount of different factions. You can play each which one has a special ability. There's like 15 different factions. That number may be off, but each color has 2 different factions on each side of that board with a special ability. Be it, building for cheaper, or, being able to place buildings on different areas, or one of them can terraform for free once it gets to a certain spot of having buildings built. Some of them use priests in place of other things. Some of them, always terraform at a cost of 2 spades. So there's a lot of variety. You can choose which race to play. You can change that up a lot. One negative complaint I have about the game, or one complaint I have, is that the cult track where you score those points and you advance on the cult tracks kind of seems like a second thought in the game, where they could just kind of added it to add something else. And I think they could have better done that on the board with a different aspect of the game, or completely left it out and still accomplish the same feel. Either way, I think Terra Mystica is a really fun game. I think it has a lot going on for it, a lot of strategic depth, and a lot of replayability in terms of the actions and the diversity of factions that it offers. So if that sounds good to you, check out Terra Mystica, a game for anywhere from 2 to 5 players.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.